One of my fondest memories about growing up on Sunday mornings, growing up in the church, was when we would leave church. Yes, leave. Because I'd get to go in the car and ride with my grandparents to a restaurant, and the minute we would get in the car, we'd flip on a replay of Prairie Home Companion. And if the sermon was short enough, you got to hear the news from Lake Wobegon as we got to our place. I remember that. My grandfather loved it, and I came to love it. Because there's no doubt that radio programs like that connected with people, and particularly as Lutherans, you would learn that there's somebody who wondered some of the same things you did some of the same things you did, and laughed at some of the same things you did, because there's something connective about those experiences. Now, I've been in the parish nearly 10 years now, and working to foster faith discussion. And whenever you're around the table with somebody and there's this epiphany, there's this aha moment, suddenly deep connections are made between one another and between the holy. And when I'd look out at our adult Sunday school, I would see there was a fraction of the number of people that come into worship. And I thought everybody should have this kind of interactive, didactic interchange. And I like to listen to podcasts. I've been listening to them for a long time. And I wondered, what if we were to take this medium to bring that connective faith to people? How could we take our Lutheran lens of grace and put it on demand for someone to listen to when they weren't just sitting in a chair, but when they were commuting, when they were gardening, when they were filing at work? Heaven help us to take faith and put it into our everyday life, right? So I started some conversations with colleagues, with some former interns, basically anybody I thought might be better at this than I would. And I joined with Pastor Alex Hoops, who brings a lot of humor, Pastor Lauren Halad, who brings a lot of hype, and Jonathan Liss, who does incredible work as our producer. So I wrote this grant to the Mission Endowment Fund of the NTNL, who graciously funded this project so that we could have enough web hosting so that you could search on your favorite podcatcher for To Hell with the Hot Dish and find us. Or go to our website at tohellwiththehotdish.com. They bought us some recording equipment, and we were born basically once a week over our lunch break. Our mission is to challenge the church to be more than a cliche casserole culture. Now, to be clear, I love some hot dish casserole. My grandmother should hear no other message than that, people. But we know what we're talking about, right? It's comfort food. That's what we're talking about. And that's great, and it makes you feel good, but do you have any idea how much butter and salt are in those things? Because steady diet of that stuff is no good. So likewise, a steady diet of a warm, cozy church culture cannot be great for motivating a church to get out there and to exercise your faith in service. So this isn't to hell with your grandmother's hot dish, but it is the end of being comfy and cozy. Here's a little sampling of what we sound like.
This is To Hell with the Hot Dish.
Let's go!
More importantly, you want to make sure your toes are clean before you come to service on Maundy
That's
Thursday.
right. That's right.
Right?
The foot
Because
washing.
isn't that where we wash feet?
Well, some people do it different ways.
Foot washing when the whole church shudders at once.
I knew this guy who was a nurse, and he was like, man, the church has lost sight of what washing feet is all about. He's like, you need to talk to nurses. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, man, nurses, we wipe butts all day. That's the new washing feet, is wiping a butt.
Yeah.
And,
Yes.
Well, yeah, right?
and when you're only Sunday focused, often I think it comes along with this idea that you're only there to worship your experience.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I don't know.
I can see that.
Maybe I'm
No,
grinding
I
the
think
axe too
no.
hard.
But I don't think you're wrong. I think that's a good conversation. I think that is definitely dangerous because I don't think it's centered then. It's not a centered existence. It's heavily weighted on one side of the experience on Sunday versus the life lived through the rest of the week.
Can we not say that we experience the holy, or that we experience the mystery of God on Monday morning, right? I mean, can I just open my mind and think that somebody could experience God not in a Sunday morning for an hour on worship, right? I mean, in that way of thinking is putting into play, is countering kind of a cozy culture, right?
Right.
Absolutely.
And there's so many things. I'm a really bad liturgist, so when you say things like Triduum,
Tradoom!
I assume you're talking about the original Star Wars trilogy. I'll lift it up. I think that if, as a leader, you can't name your personal and communal growth edges. If you can't see, if you
Church
can't...
word alert! What's a growth edge?
A growth edge?
Yeah, church word.
It's true that Lutherans up here are very nice. They're just very nice. I'm not sure in an overwhelmingly secular, increasingly secular culture that nice cuts it anymore.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Ooh.
You gotta be smart.
Good. And you gotta have something that's worth it. You gotta be talking about something that means
Right.
something. It matters.
Just a sample. We want to have lingering conversation about faith. We have space to talk about the taboo or to even laugh at ourselves. We want to try to open up space where we can say, you know, why has our faith been centered around jellied fish served with butter? And why do I feel like I have to tiptoe around the altar guild all the time, right? We can laugh at ourselves, but we also want to lift up those voices out there in the church. We recognize that we are three white guys, very one-sided. So we recognize we don't have all the answers, and we want to lift up those other voices that need to be heard. So we have guests, and we take suggestions for who would be good. Come talk to me later. But we want to lift up those voices that make up our church together and point to the place where faith gets shared, wrestled with, and lived out together. Because here's the thing, this kind of conversation is what you as pastors and leaders in this church, it's what you do. I know because so many of you do it so well, far better than I could. So perhaps this podcast can be just a tool or way of connecting those conversations happening across boundaries, a way to lift up those voices to your people that haven't been heard, or to jumpstart or inspire conversation in your context. And not only that, but everyone has a way to engage in that conversation through the social media that we put on and that we work with. In the podcast, we had this article written by us in the Living Lutheran back in July, and it came out the day I saw the article in there. I turned on the news, and I also saw a news article about Garrison Keillor, who had announced his retirement and his final show, and I paused and I said, oh, is this a passing of the torch? No, I think it's more of just a passing on the next potluck. To hell with the hot dish.